Globalization in terms of wine production and wine marketing is a major issue. And when we see a map of the world like this here, we have an idea what it means for the consumer, not just for the producer. Because from Africa to Europe, Europe still produces 65 or 70% of the world's wine. The up-and-coming producing countries in the southern hemisphere like Australia, New Zealand, South American countries like Argentina are on the upstream in terms of production. And we must not forget either countries like California, which have been producing wine for a long time. Now, for the consumer, this idea of globalization sometimes makes him afraid. He said, does it mean wines are always going to taste the same across the world? The answer, of course, is no. If you travel, you will discover that climates are very different, the techniques, although they may be similar around the world, adapt to climates, adapt to different grape varieties. So discovering the world of wine and its diversity, that is the true message of globalization. It's about differences, it's not just about similarities. And here we are at Vinexpo, where every 2 years we have a chance to discover what globalization has to offer to you as a consumer, to me as a wine writer, and to producers around the world who are selling wines. So let's go and taste some of these differences and talk to the people who are making them. Join me inside. Your wine is now, after the end of apartheid, is exported around the world, but the rest of the world is also getting wine from many other countries. What do you think of this effect of globalization? Is it a benefit for the consumer to have so many wines, or is it a little bit confusing, maybe?
I see it as both. I see it as a benefit, and I see it as confusing. And we spend our life doing sort of tastings for people all over the world to say, don't be scared, try wines from new countries and everything else. I think the globalization story basically has given wines at a decent price to people who never drank wine before. They don't look at the bottle and say, is this biodynamic? They say, is it the price I can afford, and is it delicious? They do it. But I think it is homogenized a bit. But maybe that brings more people into the wine world.
Maybe we can conclude by saying that there are different types of wine for different types of consumer or levels of the market.
We make the Chardonnay the same way in Chablis, in Chile, south of France, South Africa. We make the Chardonnay the same way. The wine is different because the taste of the fruit is different, because the soil is different, the climate is different, and that makes a different wine. Now you have Chinese people, we see more and more Indian people being interested in wine. This is so far from their culture. But they can learn, and they will learn, I'm sure.
You know, everything is a matter sometimes of opportunity. And in 1988, remember, we had a lot of investors coming to Bordeaux, and the price of the land was quite high. And we were asked to go and visit Chile. I suppose we were the first foreigners to go to Chile and buy into a vineyard. And that was a sort of challenge for our team from Chateau Lafite to do 2 harvests per year. Remember, we're harvesting in Chile in February or March. So that's how we started. We brought to Argentina, we brought to Chile and the 2 other domains, we brought the globalization for us of long-term plan, excellence, finesse, but there is no globalization about the way the wine is being made or the way it tastes, because we make the wine according to what you have in your own vineyards. And remember, we are basically farmers. You know, we're farming our own vineyards and we make the wine from the vineyards. So I think we brought really some discipline, long-term view and know-how to the countries where we are now making wine. Globalization, it means rather to find the same taste to all the wines at the same price. For me, that doesn't really exist. If you take a young Japanese, a young Chinese, a young Belgian, a young American, you know, they were not raised the same way when they were young. They were not eating the same thing. They don't have the sort of same attitude toward acidity, toward colors codes, towards sweetness. So that means step by step, starting from drinking wine from Australia or starting to drink wine from California, they will decide one day they like the, I don't know, the white Riesling from Germany or the red Cabernet Sauvignon like Lafite from Bordeaux. We do actually produce wines from places where they make and consume wines. We don't want to make wine in a non-drinking country. That doesn't exist, you know, because you need to have the broad base of people understanding about viticulture, because everything goes with viticulture, not with winemaking.
The big advantage for the consumer is the diversity of varieties that you bring to him. But it's true that in many countries they have planted similar varieties of what you can find in Europe, but there is many indigenous varieties that you can find in the New World. The Pinotage in South Africa, the Malbec in Argentina, the Carmener in Chile, the Shiraz in Australia, the Torrontés in Argentina, and Zinfandel in California. All these varieties, they bring a lot of diversity and taste. You know, we never eat every day the same thing. So why to drink always the same thing? It's very interesting to bring a lot of diversity that's open for the consumer, the possibility of try different things, makes different association with food, and that's the big advantage of this worldwide production.
The consumer is getting more diversity through different grape varieties, different countries. And in these countries, do you find different climate situations, different environments to produce wine? Does that make for diversity too?
For example, if you take a Cabernet Sauvignon, a Cabernet Sauvignon is not going to express, aromatically speaking, the same thing in California, in Argentina, in Australia or in France. Because the environment in which it has been planted makes it develop a different style of aromas. Because the maturities are different. In some countries you have irrigation, others not. The type of soil is not the same, so the nutriment of the roots is not the same. You have millions of things who can influence the taste of the product at the end. And it is sure, in Argentina you don't have the same climate than in Chile, which is very close, but it's totally different. You have a continental climate in one side, the other side is what we call a sea-influenced climate. So it's every country has its own climate, because there is too many people who speak of the globalization as people like us who travel with a recipe doing the same thing everywhere. There is no interest for a person like me to do this sort of things. Myself, I dream to discover a new thing. I spend my time creating new taste. Recently, I've created a Tokai in Friuliano, fermented inox, something like nobody does in Argentina. I always try to find some new things, new ideas to bring diversity. But why should I try to make a similar Bordeaux everywhere where I travel? Why not to make it at Bordeaux? It's the best place to produce a Bordeaux.
François, thank you very much, and vive la différence. Let's go and drink these wines now. So we've seen in this subject on globalization that whether you're in the Northern Hemisphere or in the Southern Hemisphere, there is diversity on offer. There are more and more wine producers striving to produce quality. So one can say that from east to west, from north to south, diversity is very much a part of the message. Diversity and also quality, with issues like global warming, with issues like organic farming to protect the environment, with issues like what is the true nature of wine, and with lots of new emerging countries showing that they can also have something to offer to you as the consumer. So go out to your shop, go to your restaurant and explore the differences. There's many out there to be discovered. Bye from David Cobbold. See you soon at Wine TV.